Come, seeker of forgotten lore, draw near to the sacred fire, and let the veil of time part before your eyes. The wind that whispers through these ancient stones carries echoes of druids and warriors, of sacred groves and battles long past. Tonight, we embark on a journey to a land where magic was woven into the very fabric of the earth, where mortals communed with gods in misty glades, and legends were etched into the living rock. This is not the Britain of castles and knights. This is the Albion of the Mabinogion, where bards sang songs that could make the very trees weep, where chieftains claimed descent from the gods themselves. These tales are not dusty relics. They are the lifeblood of a people who refused to be conquered, even as empires rose and fell around them. But heed my words, gentle listener, the path we tread tonight is treacherous and wild. For every golden talk that graced a warrior's neck, there was a druid fasting in a seat. For every joyous feast in a chieftain's hall, there were whispers of otherworldly terrors in the deep woods. Yet through it, all through glory and sacrifice, the spirit of this land endured. A gentle pause, the fire crackles, sending sparks dancing into the night sky. Let us rest here a moment. The flames flicker low, and the stars wheel overhead in their eternal dance. The land we speak of tonight is older than memory, its secrets guarded by stone and soil, long before Rome's eagles flew, before even the first bronze blade was forged. The people of these isles raised mighty monuments to their gods and ancestors. They left no written words, but their legacy endures in circles of stone, in burial mounds that crown the hills, in the very bones of the land itself. Can you feel it, dear listener? The weight of ages pressing down, the whispers of countless generations carried on the wind. This is a place where the veil between worlds grows thin, where the past and present intertwine like the branches of a great oak. Our tale begins in the mists of prehistory. When the first people set foot on these shores, they were hunters and gatherers, following the herds and the changing seasons. But even then, they felt the power of this land in the crash of waves against rocky cliffs, in the song of wind through ancient forests, in the dance of light across heather-clad moors. As the ages passed, these early inhabitants learned to shape the land, to coax crops from the soil and to tame beasts for their use, but they never forgot the wild magic that pulsed beneath their feet. They built great circles of stone, aligned with the movements of sun and stars. They raised burial mounds to honor their dead and to connect with the spirits of their ancestors. From these roots grew a rich tapestry of beliefs and traditions. Druids, the keepers of sacred knowledge, communed with nature and the otherworld. Warriors swore oaths of loyalty that bound them beyond death. bards wove tales of heroes and gods, preserving the collective memory of their people through song and story. But this world was not to remain unchanged. From across the seas came new peoples, bringing with them new gods, new weapons, new ways of life. The wheel of time turned. Empires rose and fell, and the old ways were pushed to the margins. Yet even as the world changed around them, the ancient spirits of this land endured. In hidden groves and on mist-shrouded hilltops, the old rituals were still performed. In the hearts of the people, the old stories lived on, passed down from generation to generation. And so we come to the end of our introduction. Dear listener, the fire burns low and the night grows old, but our journey has only just begun. In the tales to come, we will delve deeper into the mysteries of this ancient land, exploring the legends, the beliefs, and the enduring magic that still whispers on the wind. Rest now, and let these first whispers of the past settle into your dreams. For when next we meet, we shall step fully into the world of myth and magic that lies just beyond the veil of ordinary sight. Imagine, if you will, the weight of a mountain pressing down upon you. This is your cellar hollowed out scar in the cliffs of Lalibela. Barely tall enough to kneel in, you chose this life, or perhaps it chose you. To be a monk here is to wed yourself to stone, to silence, to a hunger so deep it gnaws at your soul. The ancient rock of Ethiopia surrounds you, a silent witness to centuries of devotion and suffering. Your fingers trace the rough-hewn walls, feeling the grooves left by those who came before. How many hands have worn these same paths? How many prayers have been whispered into this unyielding stone? In the flickering light, shadows dance across your gaunt face. Your eyes, once bright with youthful fervor, now hold a haunted depth. The journey that brought you here, a child of the highlands, chosen by the elders for your pietisms a lifetime ago. Now, there is only this, the endless night, the gnawing emptiness, and the whispers that may be the voice of God, or something far more sinister. The text is Gia's scripture, but the margins are filled with frantic sketches-horned shadows with too many eyes, the stuff of sleepless visions. Your day begins before dawn. No bell calls you to prayer, only the ache in your empty belly. You recite psalms in ancient Gias, a language as old as these hills. The words are beautiful, yes, but after the 50th day of fasting, they begin to twist in your mouth. The letters slither like serpents, the parchment breathes. Your fingers, once steady, now tremble as they trace the sacred text. The margins of your scripture, once pristine, have become a canvas for your fevered mind. Horned shadows with too many eyes stare back at you from the parchment's edge. Are they demons sent to test your faith, or merely the products of your starved imagination? The Gias flows from your lips, a river of ancient syllables. You cling to these words like a lifeline, even as your mind begins to fray at the edges. The language of kings and prophets, now reduced to a desperate mantra against the encroaching darkness. One meal a day, A fistful of boiled chickpeas, a sip of bitter tedge to dull the pain. The ravens grow fat on what you cannot stomach. Some brothers claim the birds are demons, testing their resolve. You no longer care. You lick the bowl clean and pray for the ache to stop. The sun climbs higher, baking the cliffside. Heat shimmers off the rock, distorting your vision. Is that movement real, or another trick of your weakened senses? You reach for the bowl, your fingers trembling. The chickpeas are cold, congealed. Even the raven seems to look upon your meal with pity. You force yourself to eat, each mouthful a battle against nausea. The tedge burns your throat, a momentary distraction from the constant gnawing in your gut. You wonder, not for the first time, if this is truly the path to salvation. But doubt is a luxury you cannot afford. Not here, not now. And we rest beneath the stars. The laughter of hyenas carries on the night air, a chilling reminder of the world beyond your stone prison. It's a sound that speaks to something primal within you, a call to a life long abandoned. You push the thought away, focusing instead on the rhythm of your breath, the coolness of the rock against your skin. In this moment of respite, memories of home threaten to overwhelm you. The smell of injera baking on the griddle, the laughter of children playing in the village square, your mother's face lined with worry as she watched you leave with the priests. Did she know then what awaited you in these sacred cliffs? The fire before you dances, casting long shadows. In its flickering light, you see the faces of your brothers, those who came before, those who endure alongside you. Some have found peace in this life of deprivation. Others don't. Their eyes hold a wildness that frightens you. You wonder which path your own soul will follow. As the night deepens, the sounds of the outside world fade away. The silence grows thick, oppressive. It's in these quiet hours that the true test begins. When the darkness presses in and the mind turns inward, seeking comfort or torment in equal measure, you close your eyes, willing sleep to come. But rest eludes you, as it has for so many nights. Instead, your thoughts race a tumult of scripture and doubt, of hunger and fear. The cave walls seem to close in, the very air growing heavy with the weight of centuries of prayer and suffering. In the depths of night, when even the hyenas have fallen silent, you hear it, a whisper so faint it might be the wind. Or perhaps it's the voice of God, finally answering your pleas. You strain to listen, your heart pounding. But the words, if they were ever there, slip away like smoke. Dawn breaks, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson. You emerge from your cell. Blinking in the harsh light, the world seems too bright, too vast. After the confines of your nightly vigil, your brothers appear one by one, each a mirror of your own gaunt face and haunted eyes. Together, you begin the day's prayers. Your voices rise in unison, a chorus of devotion echoing off the ancient stone. For a moment, the hunger fades, the doubts recede. You are part of something greater, a tradition that stretches back to the very foundations of your faith. But as the sun climbs higher, bringing with it the heat of the day, you feel the familiar ache returning. The cycle begins anew. Another day of fasting, of prayer, of battling the demons, both within and without. You steel yourself for the challenges ahead, knowing that each moment of suffering brings you closer to the divine. Your gaze falls upon the younger monks, those newly arrived to this life of asceticism. You see in their eyes the same fire that once burned in your own. Will they find enlightenment in these stone cells? Or will they, like so many before them, be consumed by the very devotion that brought them here? As you return to your cave, the weight of your chosen path settles upon your shoulders once more. The stone embraces you, a constant reminder of your vows. You are a servant of God, a keeper of ancient traditions. And yet, in the quiet corners of your mind, a small voice whispers of doubt, of longing for a life beyond these cliffs. You push the thoughts away, focusing instead on the words of Scripture. The day stretches before you, an endless expanse of prayer and contemplation. You settle into your familiar position, knees pressed against the unyielding stone. The hunger gnaws, the thirst burns, but still you persist. For this is the life you have chosen, or perhaps the life that has chosen you. A life of stone and silence, of hunger and faith. A life where each day is a battle, not just against the weaknesses of the flesh, but against the very limits of the human spirit. And so, as the sun traces its arc across the Ethiopian sky, you remain a solitary figure in a sea of stone, your prayers rising like incense to the heavens above. This is your reality, your torment, your salvation. This is the life of a monk, where faith is carved from rock and eternity is measured in the slow erosion of mountain and soul alike. Penance takes many forms in the ancient monasteries of Ethiopia. Some brothers flagellate themselves with knotted ropes until their backs resemble the cliffs themselves, raw, unyielding. Others practice the Lalibela prostration, kissing the earth 300 times before dawn, their lips splitting on the unforgiving stone. The rituals are as old as the mountains themselves, passed down through generations of devout men seeking salvation in the harshest of landscapes. In the shadow of Ras Dashon, Africa's 10th highest peak, a lone monk drags his body across the volcanic scree. His hands, once soft from a life of privilege in Addis Ababa, are now calloused and bleeding. Each movement is agony, yet he presses on, driven by a fervor that borders on madness. The mountain air, thin and biting, carries the scent of frankincense, a nemera, reminder of the divine purpose that brought him to this desolate place. You once asked an elder why God demands such suffering. He smiled a terrible, toothless grin, said, "The mountain must wear you down to fit you through the narrow gate of heaven. You dream of that gate now. Sometimes it's gold, adorned with the intricate crosses of Lalibela. Sometimes it's a mouth lined with the teeth of saints and martyrs. Always, it's too small for your soul, bloated with sin and doubt. The fresco of St. George looms above, the martyr's face a mirror of your own anguish. You wonder if he too questioned his path in those final moments before the sword fell. Did he feel the weight of Ethiopia's future on his shoulders, as you do now? The country's history is written in the blood of the faithful, from the Aksumite kings who first embraced Christianity to the modern-day monks who guard its most sacred relics. In your fevered dreams, you see visions of Emperor the visionary ruler who sought to modernize Ethiopia in the face of European colonialism. His determination to preserve the nation's independence cost him everything: his throne, his family, and ultimately his life. You wonder if your own sacrifices will be remembered with such reverence, or if they will fade into obscurity like so many before you. The days blur together, each one a test of endurance and faith. You learn to find solace in the smallest mercies: a sip of clean water, a moment of shade beneath a twisted acacia tree. The other monks become both your brothers and your tormentors, their chants a constant reminder of your inadequacies. You watch as some succumb to the harsh conditions, their bodies carried down the mountain to be buried in unmarked graves. And then comes the day you break. No vision, no epiphany, just a quiet understanding, like a snapped thread. You crawl to the cliff's edge at dusk, watching the vultures circle. The setting sun paints the Simien Mountains in shades of gold and crimson, a beauty so profound it feels like a mockery of your suffering. You think of the great Ethiopian emperors who once ruled this land, Menelik II, who defeated the Italians at Haile Selassie, who stood defiant before the League of Nations. Their strength seems so far removed from your own weakness. But as you lean forward, the wind carries a sounder child singing in the valley below. The song is about Mariam, the Mother of God, her lament for her son echoing through the centuries. It's a melody as old as Ethiopia itself, passed down from mother to daughter since the time of the Queen of Sheba, and somehow, you crawl back. The cave that has been your home for the past 3 years suddenly feels suffocating. You stumble to your feet, legs weak from disuse, and make your way to the entrance. The first stars are appearing in the twilight sky, and you remember the stories of the Ethiopian astronomers who once charted these heavens, their knowledge rivaling that of any European court. Your gaze falls upon the hidden recess where you've kept your shameful tally. 1,127 days of doubt and despair. Beneath the final mark, a single word in Ge'ez, the ancient liturgical language of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church Kaif. Your fingers trace the letters, feeling the weight of history in each stroke. You think of Abba Gorgorios, the 17th century Ethiopian monk who traveled to Europe and became a respected scholar of Ethiopian languages and culture. He too must have felt the pull of two worlds, the ascetic life of the monastery and the intellectual pursuits of the wider world. Perhaps, you realize, true faith lies not in rejecting one for the other, but in finding a balance between them. The water runs red with blood from his stigmata-like wounds, but his eyes are clear for the first time in years. The sky darkens, and you feel the first drops of rain on your upturned face. It's the beginning of the rainy season, Kirimp, when the parched earth of Ethiopia will once again burst into life. The water mingles with the blood from your wounds, creating rivulets of red that flow down your arms like stigmata. But for the first time in years, your vision is clear. You see now that your suffering was not a test from God, but a self-imposed exile. The true challenge lies not in enduring pain, but in finding the strength to rejoin the world. You think of Emperor Johannes IV, who fought to preserve Ethiopia's independence in the face of European aggression. His courage came not from isolation, but from a deep connection to his people and his land. As the rain intensifies, you begin to walk. Each step is agony, but also a small victory. You pass the ancient stele of Oxum, silent witnesses to Ethiopia's long and proud history. You see the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela, marvels of human ingenuity and faith. And everywhere you see the resilience of the Ethiopian people, farmers tending their teff fields, weavers creating intricate patterns on traditional Gabi clothes, children laughing as they herd goats along steep mountain paths. Salvation, when it comes, is not a blaze of light. It's the scent of wet earth after drought. It's realizing the demons never spoke your name. It's surviving not as a saint, but as a man, and that, perhaps, is the greatest miracle of all. You reach a small village as night falls. The sound of the Kebero drum echoes through the air, calling the faithful to prayer. An old woman sees you stumbling on the path, and rushes to help, her weathered hands gentle as she guides you to shelter. In her eyes, you see not judgment, but compassion, the true face of faith that you had forgotten in your years of self-imposed torment. As you sit by the fire, listening to the villagers share stories of their daily lives, you feel a weight lifting from your shoulders. The rigid dogma that once consumed you gives way to a simpler truth that God is present in the kindness of strangers, in the laughter of children, in the shared struggles and triumphs of a community. You'll think of Ethiopia's long history of religious tolerance. Christians and Muslims have lived side by side for centuries, each respecting the other's faith. You remember the Beta Israel, Ethiopia's ancient Jewish community, and how their traditions enriched the tapestry of the nation's culture. Perhaps you realize true devotion lies not in isolation, but in embracing the diversity of human experience. As the night deepens, the storyteller adds a handful of frankincense to the fire, sending fragrant smoke into the air. The scent transports you back through time to the Axumite traders who once carried this precious resin across the Red Sea, to the biblical Queen of Sheba who gifted it to King Solomon, to the very origins of Ethiopia's connection to the divine. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In this moment of quiet reflection, you feel a profound connection to the land and its people. The stars above are the same ones that guided your ancestors, that inspired the first Ethiopian Christians, that watched over countless generations as they faced challenges and triumphs. You are part of this unbroken chain. Your story now woven into the grand tapestry of Ethiopian history. As dawn breaks, you know that your journey is far from over. There will be more challenges to face, more questions to wrestle with, but now you face them not as a solitary penitent, but as a member of a community, one that has endured for millennia and will continue to thrive long after you are gone. And in this knowledge, you find a peace that no amount of self-flagellation could ever provide. By the 5th year, something shifts. The hunger no longer burns, it hums, a constant companion. Your body has eaten its own fat, then its muscle. Now it feeds on something else. Visions come not as nightmares, but as waking dreams. The stone walls glow with letters of fire. Your prayers leave your lips as visible breath, coiling like incense toward heaven. The ancient rhythms of Lalibela have become your heartbeat. Each day blends into the next, marked only by the changing light that filters through your cell's narrow window. You've forgotten the taste of injera. Your world has narrowed to the cool touch of stone, the weight of your prayer beads, and the endless whisper of psalms. In the depths of night, when even the bats have stilled their wings, you trace the contours of your ribs. They rise like mountain ridges beneath your skin, a map of devotion etched in bone. You wonder, briefly, if this is what the Desert Fathers felt, this hollowing out, this transformation of flesh into spirit. You are not alone in this unraveling. Brother Tawadros sees the Virgin in every shadow. Brother Gabra licks the church walls, claiming they taste of manna. And you hear the rocks sing, not the hymns of men, but the true voice of the mountain, a deep, slow vibration that thrums in your teeth. The elders call this the madness of the righteous. You call it finally being awake. The courtyard of Bet Marum is a liminal space, caught between earth and heaven. Here, in the grey light before dawn, you see your brothers as they truly are not men, but living icons. Their eyes burn with an otherworldly light, their bodies mere vessels for something greater. You wonder if they see the same in you. Brother Johannes, once a warrior, now stoops beneath the weight of his devotion. His hands, once skilled with sword and spear, now tremble as they trace the sign of the cross. Sister Miriam, who came as a widow, has let her hair grow wild. It falls about her face like a veil, hiding eyes that see beyond this world. As you take your place among them, you feel the mountain beneath your feet. It pulses with ancient power, older than empires, older than faith itself. You remember the stories of King Lalibela, how angels helped him carve these churches from living rock. Now you understand. The mountain itself yearned to be shaped to become a vessel for the divine. Did you choose this, or did it choose you? That laughing boy seems a stranger now. You remember your mother's tears when you left, how she tucked a talisman of Saint Michael into your robe. You lost it years ago, or perhaps ate it during a fast. Some days, you wonder if she still lights a candle for you. Most days, you forget her face. The memory of your arrival flickers like a guttering candle, the blind priest's hands, cool and dry, as he measured you for your His milky eyes seemed to see right through you, peering into the depths of your soul. The mountain will either make you or unmake you, he had whispered. You didn't understand then. Now, you're not sure if there's a difference. You recall the weight of the Shama as it settled on your shoulders for the first time. How proud you felt. How eager to begin your new life. You had dreamed of following in the footsteps of the great Ethiopian Saint Stekel, Haymanot, who stood on one leg for years in prayer. Jabir Memp's kiddies, who conversed with wild beasts. You never imagined the true cost of such devotion. The first year was the hardest. Your body rebelled against the fasts, the long hours of prayer, the cold stone floors. You wept silently in your cell, homesick for your mother's embrace, for the taste of home, but slowly, day by day, the mountain began to work its will upon you. The hunger became a friend, the cold, a constant reminder of your mortality. You learned to read the ancient Gia's script, your fingers tracing the letters as if they were holy relics. The words of the Psalms became your sustenance, filling the hollow places within you. You've discovered that true prayer is not in the words spoken, but in the spaces between breaths, in the silence that follows. As the years passed, you felt yourself changing. Your body grew leaner, your senses sharper. You began to see the world differently, not as a solid, immutable thing, but as a thin veil hiding greater mysteries. The very air seemed charged with possibility. Every stone and leaf a potential revelation. Now, standing in the pre-dawn light, you feel the weight of those years. Your body is no longer your own, it belongs to the mountain, to God, to the endless cycle of prayer and fasting. You've become a living prayer, each breath an offering, each heartbeat a hymn. The sun begins to rise, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. The light catches on the cross atop Bet Mariam, sending a shower of sparks across the courtyard. For a moment, you see the world as it truly is, a tapestry of light and shadow, woven by divine hands. The beauty of it brings you to your knees. As you prostrate yourself on the cool stone, you feel the mountain's pulse beneath you. It speaks of ages past and ages yet to come, of empires risen and fallen, of faith that endures beyond time. You are but a small thread in this vast tapestry, yet in this moment you understand your purpose. The bells begin to toll, calling the faithful to prayer. Around you, your brothers and sisters stir, their faces turned towards the church. You rise, your joints creaking in protest, and take your place among them. As you cross the threshold into Bet Mayum, you leave behind the last vestiges of your old self. Inside, the air is thick with incense and centuries of devotion. The ancient paintings on the walls seem to move in the flickering candlelight, saints and angels watching with solemn eyes. You take your place, your lips already forming the words of the morning prayer. As the chant rises around you, you feel yourself dissolving, your hunger, your pain, your very sense of self, full melt away in the face of something greater. You are no longer an individual, but part of a living, breathing organism of faith. Your voice joins with those of your brothers and sisters, rising towards the heavens. In this moment, you understand the mountain has not made you or unmade you, has remade you. You are no longer the boy who arrived all those years ago, nor are you the man you might have become. You are something else, entirely a vessel, a conduit, a living prayer. As the sun climbs higher, bathing the church in golden light, you feel a profound sense of peace. The weight of your devotion, once so heavy, now feels like wings. You are ready for whatever comes next, be it revelation or further trial. For you know now that every moment, every breath, is a step closer to the divine. The chant continues, echoing off the ancient stones, and you, transformed by faith and time, lift your voice to join it. The mountain sings with you, a deep, resonant harmony that vibrates in your very bones. This is your purpose, your calling, your life, and in this moment, it is enough. Now let us speak of a queen who walked between worlds. Not the pale-skinned temptress of European paintings, but the Nigest of Axum dark, as the fertile soil of the highlands, wise as the serpent who whispered to Eve. Her name was Yodit, her story became legend, and her legacy, a throne that claimed the blood of ancient kings in the shadows of Ethiopia's past. Where myth and history intertwine like vines on crumbling stone, we find the tale of Yip. She was no ordinary ruler, but a woman who dared to challenge the very foundations of power in a land where men had long held sway. Some called her a usurper, others a liberator, but all agreed her reign would forever change the face of the Axumite kingdom. The ascension of Yodi to the throne was no gentle transition, no peaceful passing of the crown. It was a storm that swept through the corridors of power, leaving chaos and whispers in its wake. For 9 long years, she waged a war of cunning and steel against the old order. For 9 long years, the ancient city of Axum trembled under the weight of change. And on the 10th, the chronicles fall silent, but the oral traditions of the Highlands speak of a coronation, unlike any other a woman crowned, not by the hands of priests, but by the will of a people yearning for transformation. Her hand rests on an ornate sword, its hilt adorned with the symbols of both the old dynasty and her own clan. A tension hangs in the air, thick as incense. What truly transpired in those moments of ascension? A coup? A revolution? Or something more profound, the recognition that some reigns are forged, not in bloodlines, but in the crucible of necessity. When Yodit took her place upon the throne, she carried more than just the weight of a crown. She bore the hopes of those who had long been silenced, and the fears of those who saw their world changing before their eyes. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars that have watched over Ethiopia for millennia. In the quiet of the night, we can almost hear the echoes of Yodit's reign, the clash of swords, the heated debates in royal chambers, the whispered prayers of those who saw in her either salvation or damnation. For Yodit's rule was no gentle spring rain, but a tempest that reshaped the very landscape of power. She was a queen who understood that true authority lay not just in the trappings of royalty, but in the ability to bend the arc of history. And bend it she did, with hands calloused from years of struggle and eyes that burned with the fire of ambition. The reign of Yodit was marked by contradictions. She was both destroyer and creator, tearing down the old to make way for the new. The great stone churches of Lalibela, once thought to be the work of angels, now bore her mark. The trade routes that had long been the lifeblood of the kingdom were with Yodit's allies gaining favor, and her enemies finding their caravans turned away at the borders. But it was in the realm of faith that Yodit's influence was most keenly felt. For centuries, the Aksumite kingdom had been a bastion of Christianity, its rulers claiming descent from the line of Solomon. Yodit, however, dared to challenge even this most sacred of traditions. Did Figuriotis, or a visionary who sought to return Ethiopia to older, deeper roots? The truth, as always, lies somewhere in the shadows between extremes. What we do know is that under Yodit's rule, the rigid hierarchies of the church began to crack. New ideas flourished, and old beliefs were questioned in ways that would have been unthinkable just years before. Yet for all her power, Yodit was not immortal. As the years passed, the whispers of discontent grew louder. Those who had once hailed her as a liberator now chafed under her iron rule. The very forces of change she had unleashed threatened to sweep her away in turn. In the end, it was not the sword that felled Yodit, but time itself. As her strength waned, so too did her grip on the throne she had fought so hard to claim. The chronicles speak of a final, fateful night, a gathering of her closest advisors, a heated debate that lasted until dawn, and when the sun rose, Yodit was gone. Some say she fled into exile, others that she took her own life rather than face defeat. But perhaps the truth is simpler and more profound. Perhaps in those final hours, Yodit looked upon all she had built and all she had destroyed, and chose to step aside, for even the mightiest of rulers must eventually bow before the inexorable march of history. What, then, is the legacy of your... Was she a tyrant who brought chaos to a once stable kingdom, or a revolutionary who dared to imagine a different future for her people? Perhaps she was both, and neither a woman of flesh and blood who, for a brief moment, held the fate of an empire in her hands. In the streets of modern Ethiopia, you will find no statues of Yodit. Her name is not celebrated in song or story, and yet her influence lingers like a half-remembered dream, in the fierce pride of Ethiopian women, in the questioning of old traditions, in the very soil of a land that has always known how to endure and adapt. For Yodit's true legacy is not in stone or parchment, but in the idea she planted that, even in a world of ancient traditions and immovable hierarchies, change is possible. That a single voice, raised in defiance of the status quo, can echo through the centuries. As we close this chapter of our tale, let us remember Yodit not as a saint or a demon, but as a human being who dared to reach for greatness. In her triumphs and her failures, we see reflected our own struggles, our own hopes, our own capacity for transformation. The fire has burned low, and the stars are fading, but the story of Yodit, like all great legends, lives on a reminder that history is not a straight line, but a winding path full of unexpected turns and hidden treasures. And who knows, perhaps somewhere out there, in the vast tapestry of time, another Yodit is rising, ready to leave her mark on the world. The birth of Zira Yaqub changed everything. At 80, he embarked on a perilous journey to Alexandria to meet his spiritual father. What he brought back would define Ethiopia for centuries. Not just Coptic teachings, but the sacred tablet, or so the elders claim. The Fifa Nagast speaks of angels guiding it across the Nile. Scholars whisper of a moonlit caravan with a heavily guarded relic. To this day, a single monk safeguards the tablet in Lalibela. He is known as the Keeper, and he never ventures beyond the sacred chamber. His meals are passed through a small opening. His prayers are unceasing. When his time comes, another takes up the mantle without fanfare. Is it truly the original tablet? No outsider can say for certain. But when Emperor Tewodros II ascended to power, he declared his authority flowed from the very stones of Lalibela. Millions of Ethiopians held it as gospel truth. This is the essence of Lalibela's legacy. Not merely a tale, but a sacred pact that Ethiopia's rulers are guardians of an ancient Christian lineage, that their blood carries echoes of Aksumite glory, that their very earth is consecrated. It's no wonder the Italian invaders targeted Lalibela's churches. Some symbols must be desecrated or stolen, never allowed to outshine the conqueror's own. A moment of reverent silence, haunting melody of a sistrum begins, accompanied by soft chanting. Let us pause here for a moment. The incense smoke curls lazily upward, and we stand in awe before these living stones. The story of Ethiopia is one of unbroken threads, weaving through millennia. Long before the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela, the kingdom of Aksum stood as a beacon of power and faith. Its obelisks reached towards the heavens, silent witnesses to a civilization that traded with Rome and Persia alike. Axum's glory faded, but its spirit lived on. The Zagor dynasty rose from the ashes, bringing with them a fervent devotion that would reshape the very landscape. King Lalibela, inspired by a divine vision, set out to create a new Jerusalem in the heart of Ethiopia. For 23 years, artisans toiled, carving 11 monolithic churches from solid rock, not built up, but chiseled down a feat that still defies easy explanation. Some say angels worked alongside the craftsmen by night. Others speak of a mysterious white powder that softened stone. These churches were more than places of worship. They were a statement to the world Ethiopia would not be forgotten. When the Crusaders lost Jerusalem, Lalibela offered hope. A Christian kingdom, unconquered, keeper of ancient traditions. But time marches on, and empires rise and fall. The Solomonic dynasty reclaimed the throne, tracing their lineage back to the Queen of Sheba herself. With them came renewed focus on the Ark of the Covenant, that most sacred of relics. The Kebra-Nagast tells us that Men, son of Solomon and Sheba, brought the Ark to Ethiopia. A daring theft, a divinely sanctioned mission. The stories vary, but its presence, real or symbolic, became the bedrock of Ethiopian identity. For centuries, Ethiopia stood apart. When much of Africa fell to colonial powers, the Lion of Judah roared defiance. Menelik II, namesake of that ancient prince, modernized while fiercely guarding tradition. His victory at Ordwa in 1896 sent shockwaves through Europe. An African nation had defeated a colonial power on the battlefield. This brings us to Haile Selassie, the last emperor of Ethiopia. His coronation in 1930 was a spectacle that blended ancient rites with modern pageantry. Here was a man who claimed descent from Solomon, who bore the title elect of God, yet who also addressed the League of Nations and flew in airplanes. Selassie's reign would see triumph and tragedy. He stood against Mussolini's invasion, appealing to the world's conscience. "It is us today, it will be you tomorrow," he warned. When liberation came, he returned in glory. But the winds of change were blowing. The emperor who had once been revered as a living god found himself out of step with a rapidly changing world. In 1974, revolution swept him from power. The Derg regime that followed sought to erase much of Ethiopia's imperial past. Yet the ancient stories endure. The rock-hewn churches of Lalibela still stand, drawing pilgrims and tourists alike. The Ark, whether truly present or not, remains a powerful symbol. Ethiopia's history is not confined to dusty books. It lives in the hearts of its people. in the rhythms of their music, in the very stones beneath their feet. As we conclude our journey through Ethiopia's past, we're left with a sense of wonder. This is a land where myth and history intertwine, where ancient traditions coexist with the pulse of the modern world. From Aksum to Lalibela, from Mentalik to Selassie, the story of Ethiopia is one of resilience, faith, and the enduring power of legacy. Let us rest here a while longer. The stars wheel overhead, and the whispers of countless generations surround us in the African night. Legends are not locked in the past. They walk among us, shifting shape to fit new battles. When Emperor Mentalik II faced the Italian invaders at Odwa in 1896, he didn't just rally his troops with promises of victory, he invoked the spirit of Ox, reminding them that Ethiopian soil had been blessed by the Ark of the Covenant itself. The colonizers scoffed until Menelik's forces, armed with both modern rifles and ancient fervor, crushed the Italian army in a single, decisive battle. This wasn't just about repelling invaders. It was about reaffirming Ethiopia's place in a grand narrative that stretched back to Solomon and Sheba. Ethiopia's national epic wasn't just gathering dust in monasteries. It was a living document, its pages dog-eared and debated in university halls and village squares alike. In the wake of Odwa, Ethiopia stood as a beacon, the only African nation to successfully resist European colonization. But the victory did more than secure borders. It breathed new life into old legends, weaving them into the fabric of a modern national identity. Across the Atlantic, the echoes of Odwa reverberated in unexpected ways. In Jamaica, a new spiritual movement was taking root. Rastafarians saw Ethiopia not just as a distant African kingdom, but as the promised land itself. They interpreted Mentalik's coronation as fulfilling an ancient prophecy. A king shall come from the line of Solomon and Sheba, and his reign shall usher in a new age. When Marcus Garvey proclaimed, "Look to Africa for the crowning of a black king," he wasn't just speaking to Pan-African sentiment, he was tapping into a deep well of mythic resonance, one that flowed from the pages of the Kebra to the streets of Kingston. This wasn't mere escapism. For the oppressed peoples of the Caribbean, Ethiopia represented more than just a country. It was a symbol of black sovereignty, of unbroken connection to an ancient lineage. When Rastafarians chanted "Ethiopians are the chosen people," they weren't reciting history, they were rewriting their present with the ink of legend. Now, the story evolves once more. Young Africans across the continent are reclaiming these narratives, not as relics of the past, but as blueprints for the future. In the bustling markets of Addis Ababa, and the tech hubs of Nairobi, the name Taitu is spoken with reverence not just as Menelik's wife, but as a strategist and diplomat in her own right. Archaeologists may debate the exact boundaries of ancient Oxum, but in the vibrant art scenes of Lagos and Dakar, its legacy is being reimagined in bold strokes. Street murals depict Taitu not in royal robes, but in the attire of modern African businesswomen. This isn't about romanticizing the past. It's about reclaiming agency in the narrative of African history. Young scholars are poring over the Kebra Nagast with fresh eyes, questioning old interpretations and finding new relevance in its pages. They're asking, what if Makeda's journey to Jerusalem wasn't about seeking Solomon's wisdom, but about asserting her own power on the world stage? In university lecture halls from Cairo to Cape Town, heated debates unfold. Was the legend of Solomon and Sheba a tale of romance, or a political allegory about the balance of power between nations? The answers may be lost to time, but the questions themselves are sparking a renaissance of African historical inquiry. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. But the story doesn't end there. The legend of Sheba, of Ethiopia's ancient glory, has taken on new life in unexpected quarters. In the heart of Silicon Valley, a group of Ethiopian-American tech entrepreneurs have named their startup accelerator Makeda's Vault. Their mission? To nurture the next generation of African innovators, drawing inspiration from a queen who, as they put it, conducted the ultimate ancient trade mission. This isn't just about business. It's about reimagining Africa's place in the global narrative. These young entrepreneurs speak of reversing the brain drain and building digital axioms across the continent. They're not just coding apps. They're writing a new chapter in an age-old story. Meanwhile, in the lush highlands of southern Ethiopia, a different kind of revival is taking place. Local communities, in partnership with archaeologists, are working to preserve and restore ancient stele and rock-hewn churches. But this isn't just about conservation, it's about connection. Elders sit with school children, passing down oral histories that have never been recorded in any book. They speak of queens who ruled with wisdom and warriors who defended the faith. These stories, once whispered around cooking fires, are now being documented, digitized, and shared with the world. And yet, for all this looking back, the gaze is firmly fixed on the future. In the corridors of the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa, young diplomats invoke the spirit of Oxum as they negotiate trade deals and climate accords. They speak of building a new Solomonic age, not one of kings and queens, but of Pan-African cooperation and shared prosperity. This isn't just rhetoric. It's a reimagining of what African unity can mean in the 21st century. When these diplomats talk about stretching forth hands unto God, they're not quoting scripture, they're articulating a vision of an Africa that stands tall on the world stage, drawing strength from its deep roots. In the markets of Mercato, the continent's largest open-air bazaar, this blend of ancient and modern is on vivid display. Traders hawk smartphones alongside traditional coffee ceremonies. T-shirts bearing Menelik's image are sold next to posters of Afrofuturist art. Here, the past isn't a distant memory, it's a living, breathing part of the present. As night falls over Addis Ababa, the city's skyline glitters with neon and steel, but look closely, and you'll see the silhouette of an ancient obelisk standing tall amidst the modern towers. It's a reminder that in Ethiopia, in Africa, the old and the new don't just coexist, they dance together, each step writing a new verse in an epic that began long ago. The legend of Sheba, of Ethiopia's ancient glory, isn't gathering dust in museums. It's alive in the dreams of young entrepreneurs, in the negotiations of diplomats, in the songs of artists across the diaspora. It's a story that's constantly being retold, reshaped, and reimagined for each new generation. As we end our journey through this living legend, remember, the power of myth isn't in its historical accuracy, but in its ability to inspire. Whether you're in Addis or Atlanta, Lagos or London, the echoes of Oxum still resonate. They remind us that Africa's story didn't begin with colonialism, and it certainly doesn't end there. The fire is dying now, the stars wheeling overhead, but the story goes on, as it has for thousands of years. And who knows, perhaps you, dear listener, will write the next chapter. Meet Abba Tekel. For over half a century, he has been the sole guardian of Ethiopia's most sacred relic. His meals arrive on gold-rimmed platters. Blessed by a council of 7 high priests, he drinks only from the sacred spring of Lalibela, where legend says King Solomon's son once quenched his thirst, and his constant companion, a weathered wooden chest, older than the very stones of the church, swathed in silks woven by the hands of cloistered nuns. At the first light of dawn, Abba Tekel begins his daily rituals. He chants the secret names of God in the ancient tongue of gaze, each syllable resonating with centuries of devotion. As the sun climbs higher, he approaches the veiled relic with reverence. With trembling hands, he lifts a corner of the covering, examining it for signs. A single loose thread could herald political upheaval. A damp patch might foretell a failed harvest. In 1973, he reported seeing droplets of blood on the cloth. Months later, Emperor Haile Selassie was deposed, ending a dynasty that claimed descent from Solomon himself. Coincidence? In this hallowed space, such words hold little meaning. Some whisper that the relic itself smites down the unworthy who dare approach. Others insist it. The power of the Guardian. Unceasing prayers that forms an impenetrable barrier around the holy site. The few scholars granted permission to study the church from afar report bizarre phenomena. Compasses spin wildly, unable to find true north. Thermometers plummet to impossible lows. Even on the hottest days, one researcher's thermal imaging camera captured something chilling. A towering figure, vaguely humanoid but with unmistakable horns, standing sentinel behind the altar. Let us pause for a moment. The incense smoke curls lazily upwards, and we contemplate the weight of millennia. Abba Tekel's life is one of unwavering devotion and isolation. Since taking his vows as a young man, he has never set foot outside the church grounds. His world is defined by ancient stone walls and the rhythms of prayer, yet he is far from disconnected from Ethiopia's tumultuous history. Each day, he receives reports from messengers whispered news of droughts, conflicts, and the ebb and flow of political tides, it is said that no major decision is made in the country without first seeking his counsel, or at least his blessing. The Guardian's duties extend far beyond mere caretaking. He is the living embodiment of a tradition, stretching back to the time of King Azana, who first brought Christianity to the Aksumite Empire in the 4th century. Each gesture, each prayer, is a link in an unbroken chain connecting the present to that distant past. Even the way he moves through the church is prescribed by ancient custom. Certain areas may only be approached at specific times of day, while others remain forever off limits. Even to him, as twilight approaches, Abba Tekel prepares for the most sacred part of his day. He lights a series of candles, each one said to represent a different Ethiopian saint. The flickering light casts eerie shadows on the walls, and for a moment it seems as though the painted figures in the frescoes are moving, their eyes following the Guardian's every move. He approaches a small, nondescript door set into the back wall of the church. Producing a key from within his robes, a key that has never left his person in all his years of service, he unlocks it with reverence. What lies beneath those coverings has been the subject of speculation for centuries. Some claim it is the true Ark of the Covenant, brought to Ethiopia by Menelik I after his visit to his father, King Solomon. Others insist it is the stone tablets upon which the 10 Commandments were inscribed. Still others whisper of even older, more primordial relics, objects of power that predate written history. Abba Tekel alone knows the truth, a secret he will carry to his grave. As he begins to unwrap the layers of cloth, murmuring prayers in a language so ancient even he barely comprehends the words, we are reminded of the weight of history and faith that rests upon his shoulders. This ritual, performed every evening without fail, is said to renew the protection over Ethiopia, safeguarding the nation from both earthly and supernatural threats. The final layer of cloth falls away, and for a brief moment, a blinding light fills the chamber. The camera's lens flares, unable to capture whatever lies revealed. When our vision clears, we see Abba Tekel kneeling before the pedestal, his forehead touching the ground in deep veneration. The object, whatever it may be, is once again veiled, its mysteries preserved for another day. As night fully descends, the Guardian returns to the main chamber of the church. He settles onto a simple pallet, the same spot where he has slept for decades. But even in slumber, his vigil continues. It is said that in his dreams, Abba Tekel walks through Ethiopia's past, communing with the spirits of kings and saints who have long since turned to dust. In a world of rapid change and uncertainty, Abba Tekel stands as a living testament to the enduring power of faith and tradition. His life, bound to this sacred space and the mysteries it contains, serves as a bridge between Ethiopia's storied past and its unfolding future. As we leave him to his solitary watch, we are left to ponder the unseen forces that shape our world, and the quiet guardians who stand sentinel against the darkness. In the heart of Ethiopia, a secret lies hidden, guarded by centuries of tradition and faith. Once a year, during the sacred festival of Timkat, the veil is lifted ever so slightly, offering a tantalizing glimpse of what many believe to be the Ark of the Covenant. But the true mystery unfolds in the shadows, away from prying eyes. As the sun sets on the eve of Timkat, 12 chosen bishops, their eyes bound with cloth, enter the hallowed chapel. Hours pass in eerie silence, broken only by muffled chants and the occasional scrape of sandal on stone. When they emerge, their faces are ashen, bodies trembling, and the soles of their shoes bear the unmistakable marks of intense heat. The ancient text of the Kebra echoes in whispered warnings. No mortal eye may gaze upon the Ark and hope to live unless it be by God's own will. The power of the Ark, they say, extends far beyond the realm of the spiritual. Emperor Mentelic II, in the face of Italian aggression in 1896, invoked its divine protection. As Ethiopian warriors charged headlong into the teeth of modern weaponry, veterans swore they witnessed a golden radiance enveloping their leader. Some claimed the Ark's influence turned enemy bullets to harmless droplets of water, while others point to the strategic brilliance of Ethiopian generals and the effectiveness of Russian-supplied rifles. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between, a potent blend of unwavering faith and cold, hard steel. Even in our age of scientific enlightenment, the Ark continues to defy explanation. In 2007, a bold experiment sought to bridge the gap between faith and reason. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, guardians of the relic for millennia, permitted a NASA physicist to analyze air samples from the chapel housing the Ark. The results were as perplexing as they were tantalizing. Readings indicated anomalous gamma radiation levels that defied conventional understanding. The report's stark recommendation: no further testing should be attempted. For the faithful, this came as no surprise. After all, is it not fitting that the throne of God himself would scorch the fingers of those who dare probe too deeply? Some mysteries, it seems, are destined to remain buried, their secrets known only to the chosen few. The Ark's journey through history is as winding and treacherous as the mountain paths of Ethiopia itself. Legends speak of its arrival in the kingdom of Oxum, born by Mentelik I, son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. For centuries, it resided in the great church of Mariam Shan, its presence a source of both pride and trepidation for the Ethiopian people. But the Ark's power, like a double-edged sword, brought both blessings and curses. Tales abound of miraculous victories and terrible retributions visited upon those who sought to challenge its guardians. During the tumultuous reign of Emperor Tewodros II in the 19th century, the Ark was said to have been moved in secret, its true location known only to a handful of trusted priests. The The responsibility of safeguarding such a powerful relic weighs heavily on those chosen for the task. The position of guardian is not one to be envied. It is a life of isolation, danger, and constant vigilance. According to tradition, the guardian must never leave the chapel housing the ark. Spending his days in prayer and contemplation, many have reported strange phenomena surrounding the relic. Unexplained light, mysterious illnesses befalling those who approach without proper reverence, and visions that defy rational explanation. In recent years, the legend of the Ark has captured the imagination of scholars and adventurers alike. Theories abound as to its true nature and origins. Some posit that it may be an advanced piece of ancient technology, its power derived from principles not yet understood by modern science. Others maintain that its strength lies purely in the realm of the spiritual, a conduit for divine intervention in the affairs of mortals. Regardless of its true nature, the Ark remains a potent symbol of Ethiopian identity and faith. Its presence, whether real or symbolic, has shaped the course of the nation's history, inspiring resistance against foreign invaders and serving as a rallying point for unity in times of strife. As we delve deeper into the mysteries surrounding the Ark, it becomes clear that some questions may never find satisfactory answers. Perhaps that is as it should be. In a world increasingly dominated by cold logic and empirical evidence, the enduring legend of the Ark serves as a reminder of the power of faith and the enduring human need for connection to something greater than ourselves. The gentle hum of decorous rizzers in the distance, their ancient hymns, a haunting reminder of the unbroken chain of tradition stretching back through the millennia. As the last notes fade into the night, we are left to ponder the words of a wise Ethiopian elder. Some truths are not meant to be understood, only experienced. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars, contemplating the weight of history and the enduring power of belief. Every light casts a shadow. If Axum guards the Ark of the Covenant, then here in these jagged peaks, where hyenas laugh like demons, lies what the Debtera Kolmetzihaf Berhan, the Book of the Black Light. Not a relic of God, but of the other covenant, the one made before Moses. The wind whispers ancient secrets through the craggy ravines of the Simin Mountains, carrying tales older than the Ethiopian Empire itself. These peaks, thrust skyward by primordial forces, have borne witness to histories both sacred and profane. It is here, in the shadow of Ra's Dashon, that our story unfolds, tale of two arcs, Tukavit, and the thin veil between light and darkness. Local legends speak of a fallen tablet brought by Menelik's renegade priests, those who mixed Ark worship with older, darker things. The Kebra Nagost, omits this. But the Feker Eosis warns. There are two arcs, one of mercy, one of judgment. The second waits in the womb of the mountains. For centuries, pilgrims and scholars alike have sought the truth behind these whispered tales. The Orthodox Tewahedo Church, guardian of Ethiopia's most sacred relics, maintains a veil of secrecy around the Ark of Axem. Yet even within their hallowed ranks, there are those who speak in hushed tones of its dark twinner covenant, not of salvation, but of power untamed. When Imam Ahmad's army burnt churches, they spared Axum not out of mercy, but fear. Yet they destroyed the Simeon shrines. Why? A captured soldier's diary claims. The monks there fed us honey, then showed us a box that made our scouts vomit blood. The Simeon Mountains have long been a crucible of faith and folklore. Here, where gelada baboons, bark-like demons, and Valia ibex dance on impossible precipices, the veil between worlds grows thin. Ancient Axumite carvings, hidden in mist-shrouded caves, speak of a time when gods walked among Menand of bargains, struck in the shadow of creation. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In the firelight, shadows dance on weathered stone, and one can almost hear the echoes of forgotten rituals. The Simeon peaks have guarded their secrets well, but whispers persist of priests who tend hidden shrines deep within the mountains, of pilgrims who return changed if they return at all. Gnarled fingers trace the serpentine form, her good eye gleaming with a mix of fear and reverence. "I saw it," she whispers, "when I was just a girl. We thought it was the Ark of Axum brought to the mountains for safekeeping. But when the elders opened it, her voice trails off, lost in memories that still haunt her. A century later, this is not the only account of the other Ark. Throughout Ethiopia's long and storied history, tales of a dark mirror to the covenant have persisted. From the time of King Azana's conversion to Christianity in the 4th century, to the Portuguese Jesuits, who sought Ethiopian alliance in the 16th, whispers of a second, more terrible power have echoed through the corridors of time. Modern seekers still vanish in these mountains. In 2017, a French archaeologist emerged after 3 days missing, babbling about the other guardian, a figure with too many joints in his fingers. His photos showed only blurry darkness, but the audio, a deep, rhythmic knocking, like something testing wood from the inside. The Simeon Mountains have long been a place of pilgrimage and peril. In the 12th century, the warrior priest Diemrehana Christos is said to have battled dark forces in these peaks, wielding both sword and psalter. Local tradition holds that he sealed away an ancient evil, binding it with prayers and the power of the true Ark. But seals can weaken, and what was once contained may yearn for freedom. Scholars of Ethiopian history point to the reign of Emperor Zara Yaqub in the 15th century as a time when the lines between orthodoxy and mysticism blurred. Zara Yaqub, known for his religious reforms and battles against pagan practices, is also rumored to have delved into forbidden lore. Did he seek to harness the power of both Ark's light and Shada to cement his rule? The Ethiopian church denies this shadow ark. But visit any remote Bet Mengist at midnight, and you'll hear priests chant Psalm 91 in reverse award. Not a prayer. Perhaps some things stay buried for a reason. Or perhaps they're waiting. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As we sit in contemplation, the weight of history presses down like the mountain itself. The Simien Range has been home to human habitation for millennia, its caves and hidden valleys offering shelter to those seeking refuge or secrecy. The Aksumite Empire, at its height, controlled trade routes stretching from the Mediterranean to India. Is it so far-fetched to imagine that they might have acquired relics and knowledge from far-flung corners of the ancient world? The concept of a dark twin to a holy relic is not unique to Ethiopia. In many mythologies, there exists a balancer, perhaps a tension between forces of creation and destruction. The Ark of the Covenant, as described in biblical texts, was an instrument of both divine favor and terrible judgment. Might the Shadow Ark represent this duality made manifest? Geological studies of the Simien Mountains reveal a landscape shaped by volcanic activity millions of years ago. Deep within the earth, pressures build and transform. Is it possible that the mountains themselves hold some primordial power, channeled and contained by ancient rituals? The Depter-Ethiopius, mystic scribes and magicians have long claimed mastery over forces, both seen and unseen. As dawn breaks over the jagged peaks, casting long shadows across mist-filled valleys, one cannot help but feel a sense of awe and unease. The Simien Mountains stand as a testament to the enduring mystery of our world. Here, where heaven and earth seem to meet, the boundaries between myth and reality. The quest for the Shadow Ark, like so many searches for hidden truths, may reveal more about the seekers than the sought. In the end, perhaps the real power lies not in some ancient relic, but in the stories we tell and the shadows they cast upon our souls. As we descend from the mountain heights, the laughter of hyenas echoes in the distance, a reminder, perhaps, that in this ancient land, not all that is hidden wishes to be found. The mysteries of the Simien Mountains, like the Shadow Ark itself, remain waiting for those brave or foolish enough to seek them out. Not all empires are built on conquest alone. Some are forged in the fires of faith and legend. Welcome to Aksum, the heart of ancient Ethiopia and the cradle of a civilization that would shape the Horn of Africa for millennia. Here, where myth and history intertwine like strands of incense smoke, a kingdom rose that claimed descent from King Solomon himself, cap-cut prompt, a richly decorated throne room. The Aksumite king, adorned in golden leopard skins, receives tribute from foreign emissaries. Born in the highlands of what is now Eritrea and northern Ethiopia, Aksum grew from a local power into a trading empire that stretched across the Red Sea. Its kings styled themselves as divine rulers, their lineage traced back to the legendary union of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. But make no mistake, these were no mere figureheads lost in ancient glories. The Aksumite monarchs were shrewd politicians and fierce warriors, expanding their realm through both diplomacy and the sword. When Rome dominated the Mediterranean, Aksum controlled the southern gates to the Red Sea, Its ports became the nexus of a vast trading network that connected Africa to Arabia, India, and beyond. Aksumite coins, stamped with the images of kings wearing distinctive crowns, have been found as far afield as southern India and China. This wasn't just commerce, it was soft power on a global scale, centuries before the term was coined. Let's pause here for a moment. The air is thick with the scent of roasting coffee beans, and we can almost hear the chants of priests echoing from ancient stone churches. But Aksum's true legacy lies not in gold or spices, but in the realm of faith. In the 4th century AD, King Azana did something unprecedented. He converted his entire kingdom to Christianity. This wasn't just a personal choice, it was a geopolitical master. By embracing the faith of the Byzantine Empire, Aksum aligned itself with the rising power of Christendom. Azana's conversion marked the birth of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, one of the oldest Christian denominations in the world. The faith that took root here was unique, blending biblical traditions with local customs. The Ark of the Covenant, the most sacred of Jewish relics, was said to have found its final resting place in Aksum. Whether true or not, this belief became a cornerstone of Ethiopian identity, linking the kingdom to the very foundations of monotheism. As centuries passed, Aksum's political power waned, but its spiritual influence only grew. The rock-hewn churches of Lalibela, carved from solid stone in the 12th and 13th centuries, stand as enduring monuments to the fusion of faith and architectural genius. These are not mere buildings, but prayers made manifest in basalt and granite, testament to the devotion that Aksum's legacy inspired. But let us not forget that Aksum's influence extended far beyond its borders. When Islam swept across the Middle East and North Africa in the 7th century, Ethiopia remained a Christian island in a sea of change. The Prophet Muhammad himself is said to have instructed his followers to leave the Abyssinians alone, as long as they do not take the offensive, recognizing the unique position of this ancient realm. This isolation, however, was not complete. Aksum's legacy lived on in the manuscripts and traditions preserved by generations of scholars and priests. When Europe rediscovered the kingdom in the late Middle Ages, it was like stumbling upon a time capsule of early Christianity, the fabled realm of Prestigiana. Mythical Christian king believed to rule a paradise in the East found its real-world echo in the Ethiopian emperors, who traced their lineage back to Aksum. Today, the obelisks of Aksum still reach for the sky, silent sentinels of a glorious past. But the kingdom's true legacy lives on in the hearts and minds of millions. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, with its distinctive rituals and ancient Ge'ez liturgy, remains a vibrant force in the Horn of Africa. The country's rich cultural tapestry, from its unique script to its calendar, still rooted in ancient computations, bears the indelible mark of Aksumite civilization. As we stand in the shadow of these ancient monuments, we're reminded that empires may rise and fall, but ideas endure. Aksum's blend of faith, statecraft, and cultural exchange created a legacy that has outlived the kingdom itself. In a world increasingly defined by rapid change and global connections, There's something profound to be learned from this ancient African power that once linked continents and cultures. The story of Axum is not just a tale of past glories. It's a reminder of the complex tapestry of human civilization, where trade routes become highways of ideas, where faith shapes nations, and where the echoes of ancient kingdoms still resonate in the modern world. As we leave this ancient land, let us carry with us the wisdom of Axum, but in the enduring legacy of culture and belief. April 4th, 350 CE. The streets of Axum buzz with anticipation. King Azana, newly converted to Christianity, prepares to declare his faith to the empire. His 10,000 royal guards stand at attention, their spears glinting in the morning sun. But Azana has a secret, a vision that the old gods will unleash a plague of locusts to punish his betrayal. Instead, as he steps onto the balcony, a flock of white doves descends from the heavens, circling his head 3 times before settling on the nearby obelisk. As the crowd watches in awe, Azana does something utterly he orders a 3-day fast, followed by a grand feast. His final act of the day, smashing the stone idols of the old gods with his own hands, then using the fragments to build the foundation of Axum's first Christian church. "Let this be a sign," he proclaims, "that our faith is built upon the ruins of our past." What Azana set in motion that day still echoes through history. The birth of Ethiopian Christianity, a unique blend of ancient traditions and new faith, the Ark of the Covenant, said to have been brought to Axum centuries earlier, found a new home in the heart of this Christian kingdom. But what truly set Axum apart? Its unwavering independence. While Rome fell and Persia waned, Axum stood tall, a beacon of African power that told the world, "We bow only to God and our own destiny." Let's pause here for a moment. The smoke rises gently, and we stand in the shadow of history. The wealth of Axum flowed through Agilis like blood through veins. Gold from the highlands, ivory from the savannas, and frankincense from the coastal lowlands all found their way to this bustling port. But Axum's true treasure wasn't in its goods, it was in its ideas. Here, at the crossroads of Africa, Asia, and Europe, philosophies mingled as freely as merchants. In the quiet halls of Aksum's monasteries, a revolution was brewing. Monks, their fingers stained with ink, translated the wisdom of the ancient world into the works of Greek philosophers found new life alongside the Gospels and the Torah. This wasn't mere copying, it was a fusion of worlds, a uniquely Ethiopian synthesis of faith and reason. By the 6th century, Aksum's influence stretched far beyond its borders. King Caleb, driven by a mix of religious zeal and political ambition, set his sights on the Arabian Peninsula. The persecution of Christians in Yemen provided the perfect pretext. In a daring move that would make even the Roman emperors pause, Caleb launched a naval invasion across the Red Sea. The invasion was a masterclass in logistics and warfare. Aksumite ships, their holds filled with war elephants and seasoned troops, caught the Yemeni forces off guard. The elephants, a sight never before seen in Arabia, sowed panic among the defenders. Within months, Aksum had established a foothold in Yemen, becoming the first and only African power to control territory in Asia. Let's pause here for a moment. The sea breeze carries whispers of ancient conquests. But empires, like all things, are subject to the winds of change. As the 7th century dawned, Aksum's golden age began to wane. The rise of Islam shifted trade routes, bypassing the once crucial Red Sea ports. Climate change brought drought to the Ethiopian highlands, weakening the agricultural base of the kingdom. Yet even as its political power faded, Aksum's cultural and spiritual legacy endured. In the heart of modern-day a small chapel still houses what many believe to be the Ark of the Covenant. Whether true relic or powerful symbol, it stands as a testament to the enduring strength of Ethiopian Christianity. The priests who guard it are the inheritors of a tradition stretching back to King Azana's conversion, a living link to an ancient past. What Aksum left behind still captivates the world. The towering stele, the intricate coins bearing the faces of long-dead kings, the illuminated manuscripts that preserved knowledge through the ages. In museums from London to Addis Ababa, these relics speak of a civilization that once stood shoulder to shoulder with Rome and Persia. But what they couldn't capture in glass cases, the spirit. To Ethiopians, Aksum wasn't just an ancient kingdom. It was the birthplace of their identity, a reminder that Africa has always been a land of innovation, power, and unshakable faith. Gentle pause, the sound of a distant church bell calling the faithful to prayer. Let's pause here for a moment. The echoes of Aksum's glory still resonate through time. Today, the legacy of Axum lives on, not just in stone and parchment, but in the hearts and minds of Ethiopians. It is a reminder that Africa's history is far richer and more complex than colonial narratives would have us believe. From the pioneering script of Giez to the architectural marvels of the Stele Axems, innovations continue to inspire. As we stand in the shadow of these ancient monuments, we're reminded of a simple truth. Empires may rise and fall, but ideas, the true lifeblood of civilization, endure. Axum's greatest gift to the world wasn't its gold or its conquests. It was the proof that Africa could produce a civilization to rival any on Earth. A beacon of learning and faith that shone across centuries, so the next time you hear someone speak of Africa's past as if it began with European colonization, remember Axum. Remember the kings who built obelisks that touched the sky, the monks who preserved knowledge through dark ages, and the traders who connected continents. Remember that long before the scramble for Africa, there was an African empire that made the world scramble to keep up. In the end, Axum's story isn't just about what was, it's about what could be. A reminder that from the heart of Africa, greatness can rise again. Where do empires truly end? They don't. They slumber in the earth, waiting. The Ark of the Covenant, hidden for millennia. Some say it rests in Axum's St. Mary of Zion Church. Others claim it vanished long ago. But listen closely in the markets of Addis, and you'll hear the elders murmur, "Our greatest treasure was never lost. It simply eludes the unworthy." This is the heartbeat of Ethiopia's legacy. It pulses not in museums, but in the deacon who tastes myrrh during the liturgy, in the woman who sees echoes of Gudit in her daughter's fierce gaze, in the very stones of Axum, where ancient kings whisper to those who know how to listen. Invaders came and went. The spirit of Axum endures. The flame, it burns eternal. Ethiopia's story is written, not just in chronicles, but in the very fabric of its people. Each generation carries the weight of history, a living testament to a civilization that has weathered countless storms, from the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela to the bustling streets of Addis Ababa. The echoes of past glories resound. Consider the Stele of Axum. Massive obelisks that have stood for millennia. Their very existence defies logic, a testament to engineering prowess that still baffles modern minds. Yet to Ethiopians, they are more than mere monuments. They are anchors, tethering the present to a past so grand it borders on mythical. And what of the mysteries that still shroud this ancient land? The Queen of Sheba's palace, long sought but never definitively found, the hidden monasteries of Tigray, perched impossibly on sheer cliffs, the secrets of Giez, a language that holds the key to countless untranslated texts. These are not mere academic puzzles. They are the lifeblood of a culture that refuses to be forgotten. In the highlands of Simin, where gelada monkeys roam and the air itself seems charged with ancient power, one can almost hear the whispers of long-gone empire. Their words carry on the wind, reminding all who listen that Ethiopia's strength lies not in conquest, but in The coffee ceremony, a ritual performed daily across the country, is itself a living history lesson. As the beans crackle and the rich aroma fills the air, stories are shared. Tales of Menelik II's cunning, of Haile Selassie's defiance in the face of invasion. With each sip, the past is honored and the future envisioned, yet Ethiopia's legacy is not without its scars. The brief Italian occupation, a dark chapter that saw ancient treasures plundered and lives shattered, but even in defeat, there was defiance. Underground resistance movements kept the flame of independence alive, proving that the spirit of a people cannot be crushed by force of arms alone. In the rock churches of Lalibela, where pilgrims have worshipped for centuries, the very stones seem to hum with devotion. These architectural marvels, carved from solid rock, stand as a testament to faith and ingenuity. To walk their ancient halls is to step back in time, to feel the weight of generations who have come before. The Omo Valley, where ancient traditions still hold sway, offers a glimpse into a way of life largely untouched by modernity. Here, the painted faces of the Surma and the elaborate hairstyles of the Hammer speak to a cultural richness that defies easy categorization. It is a living museum, a reminder that Ethiopia's diversity is its greatest strength. This is the power that courses through Ethiopia's veins, not just in its people, but in the very land itself. From the fiery depths of the Danakil Depression to the mist-shrouded peaks of the Simien Mountains, this country pulses with an energy older than memory. The borders may have shifted, rulers may have come and gone, but the soul of Ethiopia, unbreakable. Rest easy, heir of Axum and Lalibela. The rivers, remember what time tries to erase?